Episode 1. The Switch. Chicago, present day. A light bulb suspended to a long wire was swinging ominously. The light from it moved around the dingy room like a spotlight. Two muscular men were looking at a delicate girl who was tied to a chair, unconscious. As one said, "Throw some water on her face. That will wake her up." The girl's hand shook slightly as it rested on her lap. She could hear a panicked voice in her ears. "Lucy? Lucy? Are you okay? Do you need us to come in?" Lucy tensed up. Her earrings functioned like AirPods, and while her kidnappers had no clue that she was in touch with her team, they weren't stupid. If they found out, they would shoot her first and ask questions later. Lucy clenched her teeth and muttered, still pretending to be unconscious, "Smithers, you will be the end of me." She could hear Smithers chuckle with relief as he exclaimed on the other end of the line, "She's okay, guys." Lucy's trail of thought was interrupted by water splashed on her face. She struggled to look unconscious when all she wanted was to beat this bully up. The man grabbed her by the hair and raised her head, running his revolver down her cheek. "I know you're conscious, just as I know you're an assassin. You were hired to kill my boss, Philip Crawley. So before I put all the bullets from this gun into your skull, tell me who you are." Not bad, Lucy thought. The drug lord, Philip Crawley's bodyguards, weren't as dumb as she thought they were. Lucy opened her eyes, acting meek, and said, "I told you, I will talk only to your boss. For the right price, I will tell him who placed a bounty on his head." The man pushed her and said, "Suit yourself. Either way, I have already spoken to him. Philip will be here in a while. You know our boss is known to have a temper. Don't say you weren't warned." Lucy smiled. She was wrong. They were all dumb. They fell right into her trap. Lucy knew killing a man as powerful as Philip Crawley wouldn't be a walk in a park. His security system was too powerful, and this was why she had used a simple strategy. Let herself be caught, lure Philip in to interrogate her, and then kill him. Lucy was one of the highest paid assassins of her organization. She was her boss's right hand, and there wasn't a single mission that she hadn't completed. She knew her colleagues, the other assassins, especially men, envied her. Lucy didn't think there was anything to be envied. She was an assassin, for Christ's sake. Circumstances made her choose this profession, and now it was too late to turn back. She often wished her life was different. She often wished it was simpler. The sound of footsteps made Lucy look up as Philip walked in. He was followed by black-robed security with the most powerful revolvers and rifles. Philip walked to her and signaled two of his guards. The guards walked in with a bucket full of burning hot coals that they put in a pile behind her. One of the men leaned the chair that Lucy sat on its hind legs, threatening to throw her into the pile of hot coal, as Philip said, "You think I'll pay you, the assassin who tried to kill me, to tell who ordered my death?" Lucy looked at him in the eye and said, "Yes." Philip smiled and said, "The price is your life." Lucy smiled, her eyes sharp, and muttered, "So be it." The next thing they knew was Lucy kicking them where it hurt as she stood up, while still attached to the chair, and with pro moves fought with her attackers. As the guards tried to fire at her, she used the chair that she was attached to as a shield, and soon she caught hold of a revolver. As everyone lay writhing on the ground, she walked up to Philip Crawley, and in a single move, she fired a bullet right between his eyes. She heard slow claps right behind her. Lucy swung around, pointing the gun at the intruder, but she lowered it when she saw it was Smithers, her subordinate. Smithers said, "I think you've earned yourself another promotion. You did the impossible with a chair attached to you, no less. Impressive." Lucy smiled as she turned around, letting him undo the ropes and get the chair off her back, as she said, "Thanks, Smithers. I couldn't have done it without you." Smithers pulled her close, her back against his muscular body, and said, "I know, Lucy. This is why it's so unfair that I'm in the background, while you get to be in the middle of action, do the main work, and get all the credit." Lucy knew Smithers was unhappy, and she tried to comfort him, saying, "Smithers, I tried talking you up to our boss." But before she could say anything, Smithers swiftly pushed his knife right into her carotid artery. Lucy tried to fight, but he pushed the knife harder, saying, "I know you did, but you wanted to see me in action, which wasn't possible with you around. But today, I'll get the credit for killing Philip. I'll tell him you were killed on the mission. I'll be the hero." Lucy struggled to take a breath. Her lungs hurt. The room was swaying, becoming dark as she struggled and said, "Boss will know." Smithers said coldly, "That's where you're wrong, Lucy. Dead people don't talk." Saying that, he has let go of Lucy. She collapsed on the floor. She looked at Smithers, betrayed, and then everything went black. When she regained consciousness, she was in a big white space, and there was a faint silhouette next to her. It appeared to be another soul, just like her. Despite being a soul, Lucy could see that she was beautiful. She had long hair that fell in cascades down to her waist. She had doe-like eyes and a smile that seemed to light up everything around her, if that was possible. Lucy wondered if she was some sort of angel. Before Lucy could ask her, the other soul spoke. "You are in my body now." Those words were shocking. Shouldn't she be in hell now? How did she end up in someone else's body? The other soul seemed to have read her thoughts and said, "I don't know what's happening, but when I saw your soul, I simply pulled and you came in." "You pulled me? Who are you and what is happening?" asked Lucy in confusion. The girl walked up to her and said, "I'm Alex Johnson. I am now dead. My life has come to an end. Since you can enter my body, you should be able to continue to live where I lived." "You mean I get to live in your body? As in, I will be alive again?" Alex nodded, tearing up. Lucy felt like she was given a second chance. She would be alive in this stranger's body. She could get a fresh start. She could live a new life. She could avenge Smithers, and he wouldn't even know what hit him. Lucy felt excitement run through her. "As long as you promise me to take care of everything, I shall leave my body to you," Alex said thoughtfully. "Take care of everything?" Lucy asked. Alex nodded. "Yes, but you have to swear to not only live as me on my behalf, but also to help me to clean up the mess." Lucy realized that Alex had been wronged as well, and she didn't mind carrying out her revenge. After all, she was giving her a second chance to live. That was the least she could do. "Of course I'll help you out," Lucy offered generously. Alex smiled a heart-stopping smile and said, "In that case, I will give my memory to you. But remember that you promised to take revenge on my behalf. Also, my grandfather and brothers are good, so be kind to them. The one thing that I regret not doing is not finding my parents. I believe that they must still be living in some corner of the world. Find them." The silhouette became lighter and lighter as her voice became softer and softer as she slowly dissipated. Lucy saw the regret, and her heart filled with emotion. She said with conviction, "Don't worry, I'll help you find your parents." Alex nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks, and said, "I don't think you're the kind of person who goes back on her words. Since you've agreed, I can rest in peace and leave it to you." As soon as the silhouette finished speaking, she turned into little specks of light and disappeared. Lucy suddenly felt a strong pull, followed by severe pain. Before she could find out what was happening, once again, she lost consciousness. 14th century, Vanka. When Lucy woke up, she was lying on a bed. She didn't think she really grasped the second chance in life, but as she looked around, she saw antique furniture in the room. She couldn't process it for a moment and thought she was dreaming. Then Alex's memories flooded into her head, and she realized this was her reality now. Damn it! Lucy started swearing after affirming the reality. This isn't even my world. What's the point of living here? I can't take my revenge. This was not the Earth she knew in the 21st century, but a continent called Vanka. There were no aircrafts or high-rise buildings. It was a place where the strong were revered, and the weak were treated badly. Here, the air contained spiritual power and had a variety of properties. Here, people could rely on absorbing spiritual power to manifest their talent and become stronger. This place was based entirely on the law of the jungle, where the strong were favored. The dignity of the strong could not be trampled on. If the weak dared to insult the strong could kill them directly. If one was a genius, As it could manifest their spiritual power, one would be able to gain respect from all walks of life. If one had absolutely no talent in the art of manifestation, they were termed as trash and would be looked down on. And the body Lucy was stuck in was a body that was looked down on as trash. As Lucy searched her memories further, she realized that Alex had no practice of the art of manifestation, no spiritual power, and no energy. Not only that, she was obviously a girl, but her grandfather insisted she dressed as a boy, telling her it was to protect her. The servants called her master, not knowing that she was a mistress. But no matter how she dressed, she still liked men. She could get deeply infatuated with them. So the Grand Palace's master was rumored to be gay. The more Lucy delved into Alex's memories, the more infuriated she got. The more infuriated she got, the more energy she had to curse and swear. She shouldn't have trusted a stranger. Lucy had spent her whole life trusting her instincts, and today, she felt that she was conned by the other soul. An innocent-looking one at that. Episode 2. Memories. No words could describe how she felt at that moment, as Lucy, now Alex, laid on her bed, feeling choked by the multitude of complex feelings that welled up in her. She sucked in a breath of cold air as she hissed in pain from the wounds on her face, that stretched and pulled with every emotion she displayed. Damn, this is no joke. Lucy reached out to touch her face, but that attempt itself caused another sharp stinging pain from her body, as she stopped moving and gave up. She searched her memories and remembered the type of personality the previous owner of her body had, and the reason that got her killed. She suddenly felt weak. Alex was rather pitiful, Lucy thought. She had only gone to bring some food to Peruska Island's most eligible bachelor, Augustus Miller, when she was met by Augustus's lackeys. They started bullying her, beating her up, and didn't hold back as they kept abusing her, calling her trash. And the supposedly most cultured and refined, most eligible gentleman of Peruska Island just watched on as she was being badly beaten and continued with his merriment with the fawning beauties all around him. As a result, Alex was hanging on by a thread, and when she was carried back to the Grand Palace, she saw her grandfather, Dorian, and barely managed to tell him she would bring her own revenge before she fainted and stopped breathing soon after. Lucy's blood boiled. Alex was clearly a doormat, but also a troublemaker. A dangerous combination. But Lucy realized if Alex didn't have any spiritual powers, neither did she, and that would put her in as bad a situation as it did Alex. Lucy thought back to her previous self as the top assassin of the 21st century, and realized that her skills were useless in front of people with magic powers. Although she'd promised to take revenge for her predecessor, she realized that Alex was not innocent. She starved for male attention, and men out there, thinking she was a man herself, didn't take kindly to her innocent advances. But despite that, Lucy decided she would bring revenge on Augustus, on behalf of Alex. That man had no right to stay on the sidelines and watch as his lackeys beat another human. But how would she take her revenge if Augustus and his friends were spiritual geniuses? This body couldn't even manifest any spiritual energy. Getting revenge would be even more difficult. All the thinking took a toll on Lucy, and she felt exhausted and fell into a deep slumber. However, she didn't sleep well at all. Her brows were permanently wrinkled, and her whole body was drenched in cold sweat. Images swirled in her mind as she kept getting flashes of Alex's past. Alex was running down a dark cobblestoned alleyway, looking back, dressed in man's clothes. A woman followed her, saying, "Xandra, I don't care that you're an unparalleled genius of the divine world. You will still die by my hands today, and the whole Johnson family can all go to hell and reunite there." Alex looked back to see who it was, but she couldn't see through the dense mist that had settled there. Then a hand emerged from the smoky mist, holding onto a lamp, saying, "Alex, do you know what this is? This is a rare spiritual artifact, the soul lamp lock. Once your soul is sucked inside, you can never reincarnate. Even if you want to destroy your own soul, you cannot do that. Haven't you always been avoiding me wherever you went? You can now take your time to enjoy this soul lamp lock I've prepared specially for you." Ha 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 ha. A squeaky female voice suddenly rang in her head, but then the cackling faded away. Amidst a dense fog, Alex saw a woman holding onto a lamp. You're missing a part of your soul, right? Even if you reincarnate, you won't remember anything from this life. Even your strength will not be restored. Try to repair your soul. See what kind of miracles you can create. Another voice echoed in this dense fog as the wind slowly stirred. Xandra, why do you have to be so accomplished and recognized? Today, Boss is not around. Whatever complaints you have, you can directly complain to the King of Hell. These are the most advanced explosives. Dying by them can be considered your good fortune. Xandra, die. Ah! Alex suddenly jolted awake, breathing heavily as she gasped for air. Her entire back was thoroughly soaked in sweat, and her damp hair clung onto her cheeks as she felt her whole body tremble, not sure if it was from fear or anger. Sir, is everything all right? A maid knocked on the door and asked from outside. Alex took a few deep breaths to calm herself down and replied, I'm fine. You can go. Yes, sir. After the maid replied and the footsteps trailed off, there was no further movement outside. After taking in a few more deep breaths, Alex endured the pain that bore through her as she struggled to pour herself a cup of water. Her hands were trembling as she steadied the teapot, and only after drinking 3 cups of water did she finally calm down. Thinking back on her dream, why were there 2 names? Alex, Xandra. She murmured the 2 names. Who is Xandra? Why did her heart wrench in pain when this name was mentioned? After struggling back to bed, Alex quietly stared at the antique mosquito net with her big eyes, her mind replaying the memories of the dream she just had. Also, what did that strange voice mean? And who was that woman? Who was this Xandra? The voices of the maids were getting louder as they approached her room. My lord, has the master awakened? A slightly raspy, elderly voice could be heard. My lord, young master just screamed a moment ago, and when I inquired, he replied that he was fine and asked me to leave. There's no sound of movement inside. He may have fallen asleep again. The maid replied. All right, I've got it. You 2 can go now. Yes, my lord. The door creaked open, and Alex quickly closed her eyes. She heard the sound of footsteps slowly walking towards her, then stopping at the bedside. Well, enough of this pretense. I know you've woken up. Dorian looked at the person in bed who still had her eyes shut tight. She's been discovered. Alex slowly opened her eyes and peered at the elderly man standing by her bed, watching him quietly. This was Peruska Island's strongest man. He looked exactly like her memories. A head of gray hair with an astute build and eyes full of vigor. He looked at her affectionately, but his eyes reflected a tinge of distress. Does it hurt very badly? Seeing that Alex was quiet, he moved to sit by her bed as he asked her in a concerned voice. Alex nodded her head. It was really painful. So painful that it felt as if her bones were being crushed and grinded into a powder. As if performing magic, Dorian flipped his hand and a jade bottle suddenly appeared in his hand. Alex was startled. Although she knew that magic existed in this world, seeing it work with her own eyes still shocked her. This is the 2nd-tier medicinal pill that Sir Ethan refined. It would speed up your recovery. Quick. Eat it and it won't hurt anymore, Dorian said as he opened the bottle and a black pill rolled out onto his palm. He put it into Alex's mouth with a familiar gesture. As soon as she swallowed the black pill, a strong bitter aftertaste appeared in her mouth. Before she could say anything, she quickly followed up by stuffing something sweet into her mouth. Sir Ethan said that the pill may be bitter, but this is good stuff. It's a 2nd-tier medicinal pill. So bear with it, and you'll get better soon. Alex was aware that elixirs with miraculous properties existed in this world. It was just like the pills from her past life, but its effects were so many times better than those pills. There were a myriad of types and varieties, and they had all kinds of uses. For example, just like the one she ingested was used to treat injuries, others helped regain spirit powers, or regain strength, endurance, and many others. The elixirs were also segregated into tiers: 1st tier, 2nd tier, 3rd tier, and so forth. The 1st to 3rd tiers were termed common grade pills. 4th to 6th grade were medium grade pills. while the 7th to 9th grade were advanced grade pills. Alchemists similarly had a ranking system, primarily divided into 3 ranks: rudimentary, medium, and advanced. The efficiency of each pill also varied with each tier, and was further divided into 3 levels, mainly low, medium, and advanced. Needless to say, the higher the level, the higher the efficiency, and that effectively equates to a higher price. Too bad the previous soul that belonged to Alex Johnson didn't really understand much of this, as her mind was completely filled with faces of handsome men. Since she couldn't manifest her spiritual power, she spent all her time and effort thinking of men. She only went through 2 days of classes at the Berksage Academy and stopped attending altogether. Alex's grandpa adored her and spoiled her silly, and even left the matter of attending school in her own hands, never once forcing his own opinions on her. Since she didn't want to go to school, he didn't force her. But this made her even more ignorant, and her literacy and knowledge were stuck at the basic level. Within minutes of eating the bitter medicinal pill, the immense pain she previously had all disappeared, and within half an hour, all her injuries were fully healed. It was the first time she'd experienced such a miracle. This opened a whole new door of curiosity to this world she was in. "Grandfather, this stuff is amazing." Alex's eyes sparkled as she sat up. She felt rejuvenated and full of life. "Yes, not bad at all." He nodded happily as he looked at her with affection. "If only someone from our family was an alchemist, then you wouldn't have had to suffer so long. Even getting this one pill took a bit of trouble." "Don't we have some alchemists working for us?" Alex asked. "Aren't we the general's residents? What were some mere medicinal pills to them?" "We hired a few, but only have stashes of the common grade Tier 1 pills, and only a handful of Tier 2 pills. However, that Tier 2 pills we have aren't meant for healing, which was why I had to go to Sir Ethan, and especially request for that Tier 2 pill from him." He looked apologetically at Alex. "Sorry, it's all my fault. If it wasn't for my fiery temper that caused a rift between our residents and the alchemists in the city, it wouldn't have taken such a long time. I'm sorry you had to bear such pain for so long." He looked down. "Grandfather, please don't blame yourself. If you want to blame someone, it's all those alchemists' own fault for being annoying and unlikable. Since you don't like them, I also don't like them. If I do become an alchemist one day, I'll slap them in the face and show them what true alchemy is." "Well then, I shall be looking forward to that." He laughed. However, none of them seemed to remember at that moment that one has to first be able to manifest spiritual power in order to be an alchemist. To concoct a pill, spiritual power is used on the pill furnace, and an alchemist needs to not only sense the spiritual power, but to have excellent control over it. Alex wasn't even able to sense a shred of power, let alone to fire a pill furnace with it. Thanks to the pill her grandfather got for her, Alex recovered quickly. The next morning, the curious and lively Alex wanted to go out and explore the streets, but was stopped by the servants. "You can't go out there, sir. The bullies who beat you up the last time are out there. They're dangerous, sir." Alex knew how dangerous they were. After all, the original soul this body belonged to had lost her life fighting them. But no matter how dangerous they were, she wasn't scared. She had been a trained assassin. She herself was dangerous. As she headed out to the street, Alex was sure the bullies wouldn't harm her, but she wanted to see them try. Episode 3. The Revenge Begins. Although Alex had memories of this place, she still wanted to see with her own eyes what this new world of wonder was like, and set out to explore. "This world is really amazing," Alex exclaimed in excitement. After visiting a couple of streets, she stopped in front of a shop that displayed a multitude of spirit beasts, and gasped in shock when she saw one talking. "Oh, is this Alex? Please come in, Alex. What would you like today? We have a few new spirit beasts in store today. Would you like to have a look?" An amiable shopkeeper stepped forward to warmly welcome her. He was obviously familiar with Alex. She quickly searched her memories and realized why that shopkeeper gave her such a warm welcome. Indeed, the Alex before often patronized the store and bought spirit beasts and gifted them to various men around town to please them. "Alex, please have a look at our latest arrivals." We have here a 5th low-ranked python. We also have a 6th low-ranked windwolf. What do you think? Quite good, aren't they? The shopkeeper smiled as he introduced the spirit beasts that were locked up in the cages before them. Alex looked at the windwolf that looked back at her without a trace of life or emotion. Its fur was very full and glossy, something of high quality. Oh, I have no intention of buying anything, as I didn't bring any money with me today. Since I can't even establish a relationship with any spirit beasts, why bother buying one? Everyone knew that the Grand Palace's Alex was labeled as trash and couldn't establish any spirit link. How could he have any contracts with spirit beasts? To establish a contract, one must first have a spirit link stemming from the Spirit Master. Hence, whenever Alex bought a spirit beast, it was always given away as a gift. For the shopkeeper, it didn't matter, as long as he could make some business. If Alex likes it, you can bring the spirit beast back first, and send someone to pay for it later. Oh, the last time Augustus Miller wanted a windwolf, but there was no stock then. You have to quickly act on this, or it's going to be sold out soon. The shopkeeper prattled on. The old Alex would have definitely bitten the bait and bought the windwolf in a heartbeat. Anything that Augustus wanted, she would not hesitate giving it to him, no matter the cost. But the new Alex simply replied, "Well, if I see him, I'll let him know." After which, she turned and left the shop. For a few seconds, the shopkeeper was speechless. Only after she had left the shop did he touch his own forehead in a stupor and muttered, "I don't have a fever. How am I hallucinating? This Alex not only heard Augustus Miller wanted it, he simply left without buying it. And so calmly at that? Did the sun rise from the west today?" Alex thought back to what just happened in the shop. Even a shopkeeper was using Augustus Miller's name to sell something to her. How known was it that she liked Augustus? Thinking back on the spirit wolf, she softly sighed again in amazement of this new magical world she now lived in. Although the old Alex couldn't manifest, because of Augustus, she did some homework and knew a thing or two about spirit beasts. This world has these spirit beasts, and they are ranked accordingly: low rank, saint rank, and divine rank. Low-ranked spirit beasts had a bit of intelligence and could understand some human words and respond to simple commands. But a divine-ranked spirit beast was very intelligent, completely mastered the human language, and could converse proficiently. Spirit masters could establish a contract with spirit beasts through sharing a spirit link. However, because spirit beasts are caught from the wild, if they have not been tamed, their wild and hectic spirit energy will try to take over the link. And this might make the spirit master provoke a backlash instead. Beast tamers had the ability to temporarily stabilize and curb the innate wild and hectic spiritual energy of these spirit beasts, and calm them down. This would make the spirit beast docile before establishing any contracts, and reduce any risks of backlash. This was the main reason why beast tamers were highly sought after. After establishing a contract with the spirit master, the spirit beast will regain its ferociousness. However, due to the contract, they are not able to hurt their contracting spirit master. After strolling around the streets aimlessly for a while, Alex decided to head back. As she was still thinking about the matters of beast tamers, she didn't pay attention to her surroundings, and carelessly ran into a man as she turned into a small alley. "What the hell? Asking to die?" exclaimed the man, who was clutching his head, fuming. When he looked up at Alex, his lips curled up into a taunting smile. "So, it's our infamous trash. How are you still alive? Were my punches too light last time?" Alex was still dazed from the sudden collision, but when she looked up at him and heard what he said, she narrowed her eyes. This person was none other than one of the lackeys that beat her up that day. She'd promised revenge for the old Alex, and she can start with the person standing in front of her. Lincoln looked around and realized that the beast shop was close by, as his lips curled up again. He glanced at Alex with contempt and scoffed. "How stupid are you? Do you really think that giving Augustus a spirit beast would raise your standing? If I were you, I would have killed myself a long time ago. Just by being alive, you're wasting food." "Are you done?" Alex snapped back. "Last time you ganged up to beat me, didn't you? Well, count yourself unlucky you've run into me today." Lincoln was amused by the confidence and arrogance that came out of Alex's mouth. "Listen to this. Wow. Do you want to get revenge? I think I might have heard wrong. Do you want to fight me? Bring it on. Since I didn't kill you that day, let me finish what I started in." He roared in contempt as he gathered spiritual power and condensed it into a ball of red light on his palm. Although Alex was walking in crowded streets just moments ago, she made a detour and aimlessly wandered off into a small and quiet alley. Killing Alex right here wouldn't leave any evidence and would pose no problems. That's why Lincoln made such a vicious move. He had been unhappy with Alex's very existence for a long time. Although born trash, Alex was still of the distinguished general's lineage. How unfair was this? Alex looked at the glowing ball of red light in Lincoln's hand and knew this was a ball of condensed spiritual power, not something her current body can resist if she faced it head-on. She needed to stop him. As soon as she made her decision, she rushed forward with a dagger in her right hand, aiming for his neck. Lincoln was surprised. Not only did that trash not run away with his tail between his legs like usual, he actually tried to attack him. This Alex was like a different person altogether. Alex's action was decisive and fast. She swiftly reached his neck, and he felt a chill as the blade rushed towards him. Just as the blade was about to touch his neck, Lincoln quickly released the incomplete red ball and threw it at her, stumbling a few steps back. Although the ball was incomplete, it still held terrible energy for Alex. She knew she couldn't take it head-on, so she quickly twisted her body and dodged to the right. However, as she was too close and he threw it too fast, she didn't manage to completely dodge it, and felt a burning pain in her left arm. As soon as the ball of light touched the earth, it blew a big hole into the ground. Alex looked at the hole it made and shuddered. She was shocked that such a small ball of concentrated spiritual power could be so explosive. Somewhat similar to the bombs in her previous world, but this was much more powerful, and it was created by a person. She sucked in a breath of cold air as she looked at her arm. She let out a sigh. Even though that ball of light merely scraped by, her sleeves were burned to a crisp, and her entire arm was burned. Ha ha ha! Now you know what I can do. Lincoln didn't expect Alex to actually dodge that. However, he felt a burst of pride when he saw how shocked she was with his spiritual power. To create an energy ball like that is something trash like yourself will never be able to do. How about I help you out and send you on your way to reincarnate faster? Maybe you'll be able to practice manifestation in your next life. Alex saw that Lincoln started collecting power on his palm again, so she couldn't give him another chance to hit her again. Lincoln didn't expect Alex to be even faster than before, and he barely managed to collect a little energy. Despite her injury, she reached him in seconds. This time, she kicked him in the stomach with her leg. With such strength, he flew backwards and roughly landed on the ground with a thud. Lincoln spat out a mouthful of blood and, dumbfounded, looked at the crimson patch on the ground. That trash actually made him bleed? He roared in anger. A mere trash like you dare hit me? Alex swiftly appeared next to him and kicked him before he could stand properly, and he fell to the ground. A spirit master's strength lies in manipulation of spiritual power, but their bodies are no different from an average person. She ruthlessly kicked him a couple more times, till he could no longer muster any strength to stand, and he laid sprawled on the ground, groaning in pain. Alex stood in front of him and scoffed. Did you enjoy kicking me? Well, how do you like being kicked instead? In her past life, she was very familiar with human anatomy, and she knew where the weak points in the human body were. She lifted her leg and gave another kick. You bastard! Wait till I've recovered. I'm going to kill you. The pain that Lincoln felt was so overwhelming that he had lost all his rationality. Thanks for reminding me. When cutting down weeds, you must pull them out from the roots. Otherwise, the weeds will return with the spring breeze. Should I give you a chance for revenge? Alex laughed lightly and kicked him a few more times, like what he did to the old Alex. She brutally kicked him till he fainted. She didn't fear his revenge, but she didn't want to deal with the extra trouble either. Since his stinky mouth kept calling her trash, why not let him experience it himself? The new Alex was unafraid. Episode 4. Meeting the Brothers. After kicking Lincoln to the point of fainting, her gaze landed on the rock by the side of the crumbled wall, and a smile blossomed on her face. You were only a lackey, but you really wanted to take her life. I can't let you off so easily. Since you hate trash so much, how about I let you have a taste of being one? You don't have to thank me. Ah! A grave scream resounded from the small alley. After throwing away the blood-stained rock, she clapped her hands and said, "Well, you wanted her life, and now I've crippled your meridians. This can be considered revenge for her. When you wake up, enjoy being called trash." She clutched her injured arm as she walked out of the quiet alley and casually walked back to the Grand Palace as if nothing had happened. After she left, two figures appeared in the alley. One was dressed in purple, a devilishly handsome face, matched with an attractive figure as he exuded an air of arrogance. Although his face expressed nothing, his eyes showed a trace of interest. Next to him was a figure with fiery red hair, and he was cloaked in a mantle of flames. If one took another look, they'd see he wasn't a human, but a spirit beast. Didn't expect to come across such an interesting spectacle. A spirit master being crippled by a mere girl who doesn't have a shred of spirit power. What courage! Rage Nazi said. Declan Anderson looked at the blood-covered person on the ground as he thought back on how that girl didn't even bat an eyelid when she crippled his meridians. He gave an enigmatic smile and said, "Yeah, pretty interesting." Although she'd used an illusion ring to cover up her gender, such petty tricks didn't work on them. A glance was enough to see through the guise. "Master, you're the esteemed holy son of the Sage Pavilion. Please don't make such an expression," Rage Nazi gravely reminded Declan when he saw the careless smile slip when he looked at Alex. Declan glanced at Rage Nazi as his expression returned to his usual aloofness, devoid of any emotions, and they both disappeared. Not a single trace of them left. Alex caused quite a stir once she returned to the Grand Palace. She'd only stepped out for a short while this morning, and when she returned, she was seriously injured again. She'd just recovered last night. "My God, Alex, how did you get hurt? Who hurt you? Quick, let me have a look at your injury." The housekeeper in the yard rushed forward when he saw Alex's burnt arm. Seeing his distressed eyes, Alex smiled and said, "Uncle Evan, I'm fine. Just burnt a little of my skin. It's nothing." "A little? How can you call this a little?" He looked at her as his heart winced. "It's really nothing. It doesn't even hurt that much. I'll just go back and get the maids to apply medicine on it, and I'll be fine," Alex comforted him. Although the people outside had always labeled her as trash wherever she went, all that was different in the Grand Palace. No one has ever slighted her nor looked down on her. It was the opposite. Since she couldn't manifest to be a spiritual master, they felt bad for her and spoiled her even more. Her grandfather, her brothers, and even all the servants and maids adored her. Only the old Alex didn't know how to appreciate the affection and always made them worry. "Well, hurry up and let the maids help you tend to your wound. I'm going to ask the general for another medicinal pill for you," Uncle Evan said. She had already eaten the most expensive medicinal pill in the residence. Where else could they find another one? She nodded absent-mindedly and went back to her courtyard. She didn't have many maids serving her. In addition to Stella and Emery, whom she'd met yesterday, there were two cooks. They were shocked when they saw her wounded hand and quickly tended to it. Looking at their swift and familiar movements, she couldn't help but wonder, just how often did old Alex get injured? Looking at their practiced and experienced movements, one could easily tell how used they were to this. After treating the wound, Stella took out a medicinal pill and popped it into Alex's mouth. This was a Tier 1 medicinal pill, but Alex was injured by spiritual power, so it wasn't that effective. Soon, Dorian came to see her, and when his eyes landed on her injured arm, he furrowed his brows and asked, very distressed and angry, "Why did you go out alone again?" "Grandfather." When she saw that he was getting mad, she coquettishly held onto his sleeve and pulled it gently. "I just wanted to go out for a short stroll to get some fresh air, and didn't expect to run into one of the men that beat me up that day. So I taught him a lesson. I used a rock and smashed it till he became trash that will never be able to manifest anymore. Compared to him, I'm in much better condition. This is nothing. It will heal up in a few days." Frankly, in her past life, she'd suffered all kinds of injuries, ranging from gunshot wounds to stab wounds. This injury was really nothing to her. At most, it would leave an ugly scar in her arm. Alex didn't throw a huge tantrum like previous times, and it comforted Dorian, as this was more fitting of a lord of his valiant Grand Palace. He took out a porcelain bottle and emptied it as a single pill rolled out. This is the last medicinal pill that Sir Ethan refined. Quickly, eat it. Grandfather, I'm all right. It's really nothing, and this will heal up in no time. This medicinal pill is too valuable. Keep it for emergencies next time, she retorted as she pushed his hands away. What do you mean it's nothing? Your whole arm's burnt so badly, you say it's nothing? No matter what, we are the esteemed Grand Palace. We won't be put in a miserable position just because of a mere medicinal pill. Be good. Eating it will heal you up in no time. Dorian tried to persuade her into eating the pill, and he brought it up to her mouth again. Alex obediently ate the pill, and although it was very bitter, she felt her heart swell with an overwhelming sweetness. In her past life, she was an orphan brought up by the organization and underwent their tough and rigorous training. No one had ever cared for her. She was only a tool in their eyes. Never had she expected to be spoiled and loved like this. Grandfather. Now on, you are my grandfather, she swore silently in her heart. Alex is all grown up now. You even know how to comfort your grandfather. Suddenly, a hearty voice came from the door, and 4 men walked in. They were the other young masters of the Johnson residence, Vincent, Harrison, Dyson, and Elijah. The voice belonged to the eldest brother, Vincent. Why are all of you back at the same time? Alex looked at the 4 men that just entered. We heard that you were beaten up, so of course we all rushed back to see you. It's a coincidence that we all got here at the same time, Vincent replied as he studied her from head to toe, then asked, concerned. Are you all right? Do you feel any other discomfort? They were all scattered around in different places. However, when they heard that she was seriously injured, they dropped everything and rushed back, not thinking twice. Alex shook her head as she reassured them and said, No, don't worry. The pill grandfather gave me works wonders. I'm not hurting anywhere at all. Grandfather, you asked an alchemist? Harrison asked. Well, the ones we had in store were too low in grades. So I asked Sir Ethan to refine 2 medicinal pills. Dorian replied. That guy's been coveting our 200-year-old ginseng. Don't tell me that you used that in exchange. Vincent was managing the household affairs and knew everything about the Grand Palace matters. Dorian nodded. I requested the 2-tier medicinal pill from him, and he told me that these tier 2 pills were really difficult to refine, and he only had a few. They are precious and invaluable, and when he asked me for the ginseng in exchange for them, in my haste, I agreed. A 2nd-tier medicinal pill cost 20 gold coins, while 200-year-old American ginseng costs at least 50. But considering this was in exchange for Alex's recovery, it was worth it, Dyson said, not at all concerned with the loss of the 200-year-old ginseng. Yes, the loss of that ginseng can't be compared with our brother. As long as he's all right, nothing else matters, Elijah affirmed. Alex sat on her bed as she looked at the 5 men who were chattering by her bedside. Listening to them fawning over her well-being, more than the loss of the precious plant, her heart sighed. How lucky the old Alex was to have so many people love her. Now, this world used coins as the main currency. 1 gold coin equals 100 silver coins, equals 100 copper coins. The majority of the population used copper and silver coins, while the rich mainly used gold coins. 20 gold coins were enough to feed an ordinary family of 5 for a year, but they cared for her so much. They splurged and were concerned only about her recovery and nothing else. Alex, who assaulted you? Tell us and we'll punish him. Elijah, who looked older than Alex by 3 or 4 years, was the most hot-headed of them all. The Grand Palace has 5 young masters. Vincent was 29 years old, Harrison was 24, Dyson was 22, Elijah was 18, and Alex was 14. The first 4 were renowned geniuses in the kingdom of Vanka. Vincent was a 9th grade spirit lord. Harrison and Dyson were already 5th grade, while Elijah was acknowledged as a 1st grade spirit lord. Attaining that rank at such a young age was quite an accomplishment, and the genes in this family were rather strong. Only the infamous Alex had no talent in this aspect. He couldn't even sense the spiritual aura in around him. He wasn't even qualified to be the lowest-ranked spirit master. He was simply trash. Hearing Elijah asking about assailants, Harrison also chimed in and exclaimed loudly as he gnashed his teeth. Alex, who was it? Let us avenge you. Episode 5. Something is wrong with this body. When her brothers offered to get her revenge, Alex's heart felt warm, but she knew better. Alex looked at the two brothers as she straightened her back and calmly replied, "My enemies are my own to take care of. My brothers, don't worry about me. I'm grown up. I won't be so defiant anymore." Good, very good. Alex is grown up, Dorian chortled excitedly. "Grandfather, I wasn't very sensible before. I've made you and my brothers worry about me constantly. It was all my fault. I'm sorry," Alex said. From the old Alex's memory, she could see that she was a real troublemaker, and because of those handsome men, she hurt her family many times. But in her heart, she loved her family deeply, or she wouldn't have asked a wandering soul to replace her in this life, as she didn't want to cause them grief over her death. Let the past be the past. As long as Alex could acknowledge his past mistakes, it's good enough. Besides, we never once blamed you before, Dyson said. The others nodded in agreement. Well, I know my mistakes and won't make them again. I'm going to live a good life from now on. It's for the best. Since you said that you'll carry out revenge yourself, we brothers will not interfere. Whatever you need, just tell us. No need to be ceremonious. Just give us a word and we'll be there. Alex felt her eyes well up before she knew it, and she didn't know if it was because of her own feelings, being moved, or the feelings left deeply imprinted in this body. These overprotective brothers of hers had unknowingly left a deep impression in her heart. Okay, we'll let Alex rest. No matter how good the effects of the pill are, he'll still feel some fatigue, Vincent said thoughtfully. Well, it's getting late. We'll head back. Alex, if you need anything, remember to call us. Don't go out in secret again. Yeah, what if you go out by yourself and get hurt again? So be good, and don't wander out alone. Only after many, many reminders did her grandfather and four brothers finally leave. When she was alone, she let out a soft sigh filled with envy. You're really lucky to have such a good family that loves you so much. I never thought I'd know what it's like to have a family, experience such care and concern. So, thank you. I'll live my life well in your place, Alex swore in her heart. After calming her feelings, Alex called out for her maids. Sir. They gently pushed the door open and bowed before her. I want to take a bath, she said simply, too tired to say anything more, as she looked at the two beautiful maids. Yes, sir. Please wait while we prepare it. They soon came back with a large barrel and jostled in and out of the room with buckets of hot water. Sir, your bath is ready. All right, you may leave. She waved them away, and only after ensuring they closed the door behind them did she get out of bed. As she walked towards the wooden barrel, she peeled off her robes, layer after layer, and by the time she stood before her bath, she was completely naked. She looked down at her flat chest and continued gazing further down, muttering grudgingly, I really look like a man. She carefully climbed into the bath and immersed her body into the water and relaxed. In her previous life, she really enjoyed soaking in baths, as she felt the fatigue and all the pain wash away, and she felt that she could go on doing what she did. It refreshed her mind and rejuvenated her spirit. As the hot water in the bath started to cool down, she stretched out her left hand and looked carefully. There was a ring on her left hand, and this was the same ring she remembered Dorian reminding her time and time again to never remove. From the memories, she had it from the beginning, since she was a young child. Dorian told Alex that the ring was infused with magic and would make her look like a boy. He told her to never ever take it off, especially in front of anyone. But Alex would still take the ring off from time to time, when she was alone in the room. To prevent her secret from getting out, she had gravely warned the maids to never enter the room unless she called for them. Now, she had to examine what was wrong with her own body, so she removed the ring. She reached out and carefully touched the edge of the ring, where there was a small button. She turned it gently and heard a small click, as her body instantly transformed into that of a young maiden. She placed her fingers on her left wrist, carefully feeling her pulse. In the past, although she was an assassin, on the surface, her identity was of a medical college associate professor of ancient herbal medicine, and she was the youngest associate professor of the school. They lived their day-to-day lives normally for their cover, unless they had to take on their missions. With a serious face, she took her pulse, then let go of her wrist and raised her hands, and found one red and black mole-like dot in her armpits. She had this feeling that something was wrong with the body, and suspected it to be the reason why she was unable to manifest. She used her right index finger to touch the dot under her left armpit, and in a daze, she murmured, "This body really has a problem." She quickly dressed herself up and reverted her appearance to that of a male, and stood in front of the mirror. She looked at the reflection. Although it was not a devastatingly handsome face, it was still above average. She had delicate features. No wonder with her erratic behavior, people thought she was gay. She called for the maids to come in to clear the bath. One was called Emery, another was Stella, and both were rather pretty in her opinion. The two were outside, awaiting further instructions, not daring to enter unless they were called for. They had been serving by their master's side for some time, and had seen how their master would punish those disobedient ones who did not heed his instructions. After seeing so many other maids and servants come and go, they were the two obedient ones, who had been by his side for the longest time, although they still harbored some fear of him. "Emery, Stella, I'm hungry." She glanced over at them. Those who manifested could absorb spiritual energy from the environment to support the body, and wouldn't go hungry so easily. The higher their level, the longer they could go on without food. For those who were in the top ranks, they did not even need to eat. However, to satisfy their taste buds, most people still ate 3 meals a day. What more for Alex, who was labeled trash? She had no choice in that matter, and eating was a necessity. "I already prepared your meal. Would you like me to serve it now?" Emery said carefully. "Yes, you're the best." Once she heard that there was food, her whole mood improved and she felt spirited. Past life, although she was busy living the double life of murder and medical research, food was an indispensable part of her life. She had even taken the extra effort and time to learn and master the art of cooking. From Italian cuisine to Hawaiian cuisine, she was well versed in them. This was another aspect in life she would not compromise in. Emery and Stella were surprised when they felt their master was more amiable, as they bowed before exiting the room. Alex sat eagerly waiting in the room, her mind filled with a fantasy of all sorts of delicacies. However, when Emery brought the food in, her mind reeled. This is the food you prepared for me?" She asked cautiously, as a trembling finger pointed to the food on the table, with dishes that looked as if they had only been cooked and blanched in water. Yesterday, she only had the simple meat porridge, and didn't really know what the food here was like. When she saw the plain dishes spread out before her, she was shocked. "Please forgive us." Both maids dropped their knees onto the ground, as they started knocking their heads onto the ground, begging for mercy. "What are you doing? I'm not blaming you. Get up!" Alex cried out when she saw the reaction of the two maids. Only then did she see from the memory that the old Alex was very strict, and fear was deeply etched into the hearts of these two maids, and their reflex actions kicked in when they saw their master annoyed. "Thank you, sir." 2 girls got up from the ground, with fear still lingering in their hearts. Alex no longer bothered about the two of them, as her left hand clutched her stomach, while her right hand held up a fork as she tried to pick a dish that looked palatable, as she scoured the food placed before her. 10 minutes later, she gave up, helplessly put the fork back down, and called out, "Give me a couple of fruit instead." After eating the fruit, Alex rolled on the bed and started to mutter grudgingly as she felt her empty stomach. "I still need proper food." "You have always been so picky about food. You're already in the divine ranks and can survive without it." A gentle voice suddenly rang out in her mind, as if transcending time and space. A familiar memory flashed by. Whose voice is this? Is this another memory of this body? Alex thought to herself. However, she couldn't shake off a nagging feeling that it was not. And this body was trash. How could it be divine? Who did this voice belong to? And who was it talking to? When dinner was still challenging to swallow, Alex couldn't take it any longer, as she went into the kitchen herself and stir-fried 2 simple dishes. This was the first time since she's eaten so well since arriving in this new world. As she drifted off to sleep at night, she had the same dream as the night before, with a shrill voice screaming out the same words. "Alex, die." She could recognize that this voice belonged to her past life. "Xandra, please die for me." Only once you're dead will I be the one and only acclaimed genius in this whole world. Who was this? Why did she not have any visual memory at all? Go to hell! The two voices resounded in her mind, overlapping each other as they grew louder and louder. Cackling and screams echoed, and she jolted awake from her nightmare. Her whole body was drenched with sweat, clothes clinging to her. Her confused eyes darted around as a trace of sadness and loss was reflected in them. What are those two names again? She whispered. That night, as the moon hung high in the sky, she could no longer sleep. As long as she closed her eyes, the two names resounded in her mind. Alex, Xandra. She tried to scour through all her memories, but there were only traces of Alex, and it was a complete blank for Xandra. Whether it was the past life of her own or this body's, there was not even a hint of that name in either of them. What was happening to her? Who was Xandra?